Okay.
Yes. Please remember to keep rolling the teleprompter.
I have a notebook cover. I didn't even think about that until now because I wouldn't expect to use it. But is this okay?
Hello, world. Welcome to Americana. I'm your host, Willie Montague. Tonight, the curtain comes down, the truth they hide, the deals, the power plays, the lives being shaped without your say. We're exposing it all right here on Americana. Fast, sharp, unfiltered. Stay tuned. This is Americana. All right, you guys, we have an awesome show for you today. We're going to be talking about some hot topics. Who controls the story of America? The economy and consumer gloom, and the cult of fame versus real achievement. And then we have with us a very special guest today, a political commentator, someone who definitely does not hold back. Miss Lateresa Jones is with us in the house. So we have a lot coming up today on this episode. But before we get started, you know what time it is. Let's get into Willie's tape. All right, this is my favorite part of the show where I get to have a little rant. Everyone talks about change, nobody does it. Everyone wants freedom, nobody earns it. Comfort kills ambition, fear kills potential, excuses kills dream. Stop scrolling, stop whining, stop pretending. The world will crush you. History doesn't care about your excuses. Opportunities doesn't wait. Take risks. Make enemies, break norms, do what others are too weak to try. Weak people complain, strong people conquer. Which one are you? Time is a weapon, use it, or it will use you. No mercy, no pity, no second chances. This is your life, either dominate it or disappear. All right, we are joined with none other than Miss Lateresa Jones. Welcome to Americana. You ready?
I'm ready. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. So we're getting ready to get into who controls America, who controls America's story. And only 40% of high school seniors can identify the main cause of civil war. Schools are rewriting textbooks to focus on slavery and systemic racism, while some want traditional stories, and those are actually disappearing. So I want to bring this all home with you. And Ms. Jones, there's a lot that we definitely share in common. But why does it seem that when we talk about history, that the conservatives are defending history in their own way, but it seems like they're leaving out American history, the part where it deals with slavery and the things that take place, systemic racism that people may have endured during those times. What is the truth that we need to have in our schools?
Well,
Okay, so as we're talking about the history of the schools. And as I said, 40% of the schools are facing a decline. We're seeing the schools are moving over to not understanding history. They're not understanding what's really in the books. And as I've said before, we have to talk about the whole history, just not history that matters just to one particular political affiliation. And so if you can hear me, are you able to hear me, Ms. Jones?
I can hear you now. Absolutely.
What is it that you think we need to do to make sure that the whole entire truth, not the parts that conservatives want us to leave out, but all the truth is put into our education?
Well, you know what makes this good at this particular point is this, Willie. And that is the fact that as a Black American, the only thing our ancestors wanted was us to tell our own story. Everybody should be allowed to tell their story in history. And what we have, the problem we were running into, that there are a select few of people that feel as though they can tell our story better than we can tell our story. And that's absolutely not the truth of it. I think that, for example, let's just kind of take this head on. They're talking about changing the stories and our narrative in the Smithsonian because it's too DEI and too woke. But the reality is, you know what? History is not a pretty picture, especially for slavery in America. And until society as a whole, not a Democrat, not a Republican, allow people to tell their own stories and write their own stories, these children won't have an understanding. And I'd say that what's really most important I can talk about Black American history, is that we have to write our own history and tell our own story. You know, the benefits of grandparents was the fact that they wrote our history usually in the Bible. That's where the answers are. And we've gone so far away from our heritage. They taught us the truth because they survived something.
And that is true.
That we have not survived.
We've gotten away from the truth that matters. And I feel personally, as someone who, you know, don't mind speaking my political views, we did get away from it. We have gotten away from it, but I feel like the conservative narrative has really crippled us from being able to stand on it. But we're getting ready to get to a commercial break. So, Ms. Jones, don't go anywhere where we have to take a quick commercial break. But when we come back, we still got Ms. Jones with us. We're getting ready to break down the economy and consumer gloom. Please stay with us. This is Americana.
That is perfect. I hear me because I think is it a sound delay? Okay.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Americana, and we are back with Ms. Jones. We're talking about the economy and consumer gloom. Consumer confidence just hit the lowest point since May. People are worried about jobs, inflation, and whether the American dream is slipping away. But here's the twist. The numbers aren't catastrophic. The fear is. So I want to talk to you, Ms. Jones, because this is something that I continue to hear, and I'm seeing it as I go up and down the streets, where conservatives are making it a play down. They're guilty of playing down the economy and making it feel like it's just another political talking point, and that really is nothing going on. President Trump is doing, excellent job, and we're just right back to where we are. But is that really the truth? Are we actually inclining, or are we just still where we were within the last year and a half?
I think that You know, it's a matter of opinion if somebody is doing an excellent job. And the only reason I say that is because eggs went down for a short period of time, but eggs are still back up. We don't write $1 billion checks. Our kids, we worry about working on a budget as well. And I think that is very unfair for the conservatives to, you know, we are a go along to get along group. You know, just because you stand for a person that you elected does not mean that it is affecting our families the same way. I see it all the time too, Willie, as well. You have seniors that are on fixed incomes. You have families that now have to have a serious budget when they're going into the grocery store. Gas is going back up. I think that they need to take a realistic approach and stop gaslighting the public.
So that's a good thing. What is the actual like real approach? Because, you know, and we spoke about this earlier this week about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We continue to see the call for the Epstein files to be released. We continue to see everything happening in Ukraine and Israel and all those places. But it's like we don't get back to the bare essentials of everyday American economy, which is taking care of the American people. And why does it feel like people are still broke? The statistics are not lying, but why is it that people are just like, oh, but it's great. We're it's like, where is it that we actually wake up and stop trying to pretend that we are still not in a crisis? This is not, pointing fingers and saying that President Trump is not doing anything to help it, but why is it that we're not talking about it and trying to get into where we need to go? What is the actual solution? What would you do if you were if you were the president today? What would you do?
Well, I'm not going to be the president today or no other day because of the fact that I'm too vocal. But as far as I think that we have to take a realistic approach on the ground with people. We have to listen to people because they're not listening to what the people are saying as well. I think that when you start trying to I think he's too busy doing too much. Everything that's going on right now is outside of this country. It's not dealing with the American people at this particular time, and that just tells us how they like to, those numbers and the data. I'm not a believer in that because they can manipulate those numbers as they do. And as they do too. At the end of the day, I think about having an approach to talk to people, real people, and listen to them. You have senior citizens. You have not even, what about the cost of living? To rent an apartment or to live somewhere, cost of living is outrageous. Most people can't even afford it unless you have maybe a couple incomes coming into your home.
So what happened? Why? This is a good thing to turn this back. So speaking on that about the income, is this about money or about American losing faith in that tomorrow will be better than today? Is it like, is America saying, I don't have any more faith. I don't know if there's going to be a better tomorrow because tomorrow gets here and I'm in the same place that I was. So is it really about the money, or is people just saying, is there really an American dream? And this is the thing that's for me is I don't mind being vocal about my political beliefs, but what is alarming, as you have mentioned, is about us being able to walk down the streets and see predominantly most of our seniors homeless, or we see the seniors being the people who are driving Ubers, and then we turn around and say that we are the best at taking care of the vulnerable, but yet and still we're not taking care of those who help us make this country what it is today. So I turn that to you. Is this about the money, or is the American people just sick and tired of being sick and tired?
I think it's a combination of both. It's always about the money at the end of the day. It's about, is the money going far enough or further enough? It cannot, because our money is not catching up with the cost of living across the board at this particular point is where we are at. When you start talking about seniors, everybody has to increase their income right now. They have to go out and they have to get those second jobs. Most of our children, and I'll tell you, it is about the money because this big, beautiful so-called bill has increased our debt to $3 trillion. And guess what that means? I promise you by the end of this month, when they need to balance this budget, it's going to increase some more. That means my grandchildren and my children will be eating this debt. That's the reality of it. When we start dealing with the truth and start looking at the reality, we don't need things sugar coated anymore. America has sugar coated things enough. And people are tired as politics as usual because that's where we're at right now.
So do we think that we would have, just real fast, do you think that we would have had a different outcome if, was this just a push because we wanted to see President Trump, it was going to be instantly a turnaround? Or so should we just wait to see what happens over the next 3 years? Or do you just think that it's just going to be more photo ops and steak dinners and tea time?
Of course, it's going to be more photo ops. And they're trying to continue to sell us. It's not even going to be about the next 3 years. It's going to be about next year, which is the midterms. About the Republicans controlling the House and the Senate as well, quickly stating that. So, that's why they're pushing this narrative, but our pocketbooks are seeing something different.
You're right. This has been a great conversation. We got another hot topic coming up, and we're getting ready to go on a commercial break. But just to piggyback on that, it's so much that's happening right now in our country, and we do need to wake up. We got the midterms coming up, you guys, and it's going to be something we need to really focus on because the American people are getting ready to see something probably unshakable that we're not going to be able to get away from. So you need to be in tune to what's coming up in this country and what's coming up around us because it's our taxpayer dollars, but it's coming up. So we have to take another quick commercial break. Please don't go anywhere. We have Ms. Jones with us. We'll be right back talking about the fame versus real achievement, the cult fame versus real achievement. This is Americana. Don't go anywhere. All right, you guys, welcome back. I like to call this the quick round. We're coming up about the cult of fame versus real achievement. We still have with us Miss Lateresa Jones. Let's get into this. Katy Perry just grossed over $80 million on her tour, but instead of celebrating, the internet mocked her for being out of touch. At the same time, kids say they'd rather be influencers than doctors or engineers. Ms. Jones, this is the problem where we see this generation is like just chasing fame. They're not really looking for something that is long term. So what do you say about that? Why is it that the conservatives continue to spend their times fighting what is woke culture, but ignoring that America's obsessed with clout? And so what are we going to do? You know, I'm big about engagement, but why is it that conservatives is just like everything's woke, 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 but here we are seeing that you have a whole group of individuals, these youth that are saying, I want to be an influencer, forget going to school to be an engineer or an attorney. So what do you say about that? Like, how do we start getting this conversation to where it actually matters to, moving the needle versus being out here spending time about what's woke or not?
Well, in the conservative movement, if we're keeping it real, the conservatives have a tendency to be selective and to hear what they only want to hear. They are not concerned with, the internet, how it has taken our society by storm. And I even say for myself, coming on as well, these kids, this is what they have taught them over the years. This was a long-term plan. This is nothing that started yesterday. And that's why I call us all off guard. Think about the school debt, these school loans. You know, we are going into socialized medicine. These are different things that's happening, and people are not paying attention. There is an agenda. How do we stop this? Because we push such an agenda of flashiness, gold, following entertainers, pastors with contracts, and agents, instead of us being out here grassroots, talking to people, talking to these children. You know,
So,
I think this is going to be at least another 10 to 20 years, but I also think that it's going to halt immediately because there is an agenda.
definitely is an agenda. And so is this the new norm? Is this getting ready to be the new American dream? And if so, is this getting ready to be more dangerous than socialism? Because socialism has touched many other countries, and we talked about that when we were dealing with the Biden administration. But do you think this whole chasing fame is now the new American dream versus something that has some merit to it, and it looks like it's going to be more dangerous than socialism? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's very dangerous because I'm going to tell you, I look at my husband and I have 7 children. We have 3 of them that are doctors. And you know what? Their student loans and the money that they have to pay back, I don't feel as though they're going to make it. How are they going to be able to survive? And that's why I feel like we've been put in a catch-22 with this educational system as well. Look at the cost of $250,000 to be a doctor. $250,000. And most of these folks, everybody, unfortunately, a lot of people have these PhDs, and really, they can't even get the jobs to even pay for them. They're working 2 jobs just to pay their bills along with student loans. And remember, these student loans have interest rates on them also. So it's very alarming. I think they're going to do it just like, I'm looking at this social media, just like the crack industry. They put it out there until it gets old, and all of a sudden what happens? They create a new form of drug.
Well, thank you. This has been a strong, powerful episode, and it definitely has been some hot topics. I thank you, Ms. Lateresa Jones, for being with me. I know you're going to keep it real. We're going to have you come back. But you guys out there, thank you so much for tuning in with us through this week. That's a wrap for today's Americana. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, only on AFRO TV. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and definitely stay Americana. God bless you.